Hey all, this is Mr. Hammond, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can connect your Chromebook to your Clevertouch using a different method. So you're used to using the Clever Share, which just allows you to share or project what you have on your computer screen to the Clevertouch, but you can't actually interact with it while it is there. If you do it through this method, you can actually interact with it as if you were using the touchscreen portion of your Chromebook. So you will use the Type-C cable that comes with the Clevertouch. So you might have received a little brown box and didn't know what all those cables did. If you find that Type-C, and I'll show it on the screen here, cable, it has it on each end, you'll be able to connect your Chromebook to your Clevertouch. So let me show you how you can do that. So with your Chromebook, you have the Type-C on both ends, so the left and the right side. So you just need to connect one of them to the right side of your Clevertouch. Connect it. It has a little lightning symbol above it. There are a couple slots there. And we will let it connect, and it should show my computer screen here in just a second. There it goes. So initially it acts like it is extending the screen. So I'm going to have to, if I have something already on my Chromebook screen, I'm going to drag it to the right. But once it is there, I can actually interact with it just like you would with the Clevertouch. So everything on here I can interact with. Okay, so before you get too far into using or connecting the Clevertouch with the Chromebook and actually using it, there's a couple settings that you're going to need to change in order to make this function properly, or function the way that you would expect it to function. So the first thing that you will need to do is you're going to navigate down to this little toolbar on the bottom, and you're going to find your way to settings. So see the little gear cog there. Off to the left hand side, we're going to click on the drop down advanced options, and then we are going to make our way to accessibility. So you can see accessibility there. Click on that, and what we are going to do is make sure that this is highlighted in blue. That means it's turned on. Always show accessibility options in the system menu. That's going to make it easy for us to turn on and off the on-screen keyboard, which will be very valuable to you if you're going to use this to enter URLs or any sort of typing. So you're going to go ahead and turn that on. So ours is on. Exit out of that. Now if I go back to that menu, you should have noticed, or should notice now, there's an accessibility option. If you hit that little drop down arrow, there are a lot of different options there. What we're going to focus on is the on-screen keyboard. When I click on that, you should see the little blue arrow. That means that this function is turned on, meaning that anytime that I should enter into a field that requires me to enter text, the on-screen keyboard shows up. Now you can, again, if you are disconnected from the Clevertouch, then you can go back to that menu and easily turn it off. So go back to accessibility, click on the on-screen keyboard, no check mark. That means that is now off, and now we can use our normal keyboard functionality. The second thing that you will want to adjust, or most likely will want to adjust, is if you go to these settings, and we are going to go to device and displays. So initially the displays, the orientation of the display for the Clevertouch when you first connect it is going to be really, really tiny. It should be really small. So what we're going to do is adjust that so it looks more normal, and so students can actually see it from their seats, and actually you can see it from the board because it is pretty tiny. So we have our two options: the built-in display, and we have the PC monitor. The PC monitor is referring to the Clevertouch. It just doesn't know that the Clevertouch's name is Clevertouch. So we're going to click on the PC monitor, and we kind of scroll down just a bit, and notice that I have already adjusted this. I've adjusted it to 240%. I find that that is works for me. You can adjust that and decide what works for you. Initially, though, it's down in the maybe 100 to 110% range, and it's really hard to see it's really hard to see when you're in front of the room, let alone if a student is sitting from their seat. So you want to adjust that probably somewhere in the 220, 240% range. I found 240% works pretty well. And then once you are done there, you can exit out. And then anytime, this is all first time setup. So once you set this up the first time, next time you reconnect this, all these settings should be there. You just have to turn on and off the keyboard as you need for the functionality of the Clevertouch. So really the only other thing I wanted to touch on before you guys can just go back and test this out for yourselves, just some of the advantages maybe versus some of the drawbacks. So advantages, again, I think this is an awesome tool. It could open up a lot of doors. I feel like the three that I could think of, and I'm sure there are more, and you'll probably think of more. One, it runs the apps that may not run on the Clevertouch. So there's some certain apps that maybe you can't even download on the Clevertouch, or maybe that just don't run properly on the Clevertouch, but they do on the Chromebook. So if you can run them on the Chromebook, now we can use those essentially on the Clevertouch. The second bullet there, same feel as a Chromebook because it is the Chromebook. Essentially, you're just using the functionality of the Clevertouch to run your Chromebook. And then you can still use the writing tools of the Clevertouch. So you should notice that little pencil is always there no matter what. So you can write over just as you would if you were only using the Clevertouch. Now and I actually just thought of another bullet here, possible drawbacks. Chromebook would be tied to the Clevertouch. So if you should need it, maybe you're want to walk around the room with your Chromebook, that wouldn't be possible necessarily with this option because you are technically tied with a wire to your Clevertouch. It does also, that second bullet uses the Chromebook's processing power. So in some cases, if your Chromebook has been on for an extended period of time, or maybe you have a ton of tabs open, or whatever it may be that's slowing the Chromebook down, the Clevertouch would be drawing from the processing power of the Chromebook rather than using its own processing power. So if you want to use them separately, so they can use their own processing power, maybe this is not the option for you. And then finally, the other challenge or drawback maybe is that it's just not in a position in your room that it works well. So if you have if the Clevertouch is in the front of the room, you don't really have a position that you can set your Chromebook down so that the wire can connect without yanking it out or ripping it out or being in a high traffic area. This might not be a great option as well. But I still think there is some power in this, but it's always good to look at the possible advantages versus drawbacks anytime you're trying something new. So hopefully this is something that you find useful. If you have any questions on this or anything else, feel free to let me know. Thanks.